All right, ladies and gentlemen, today I am here on camera with a man who I describe as my brother. This gentleman right here, we've been working together
DNA
since...
not confirmed.
No relation. This gentleman right here, Mr. Sitho Bandezi.
Yes, sir.
We've been working together since about second year university at AFDA, and I've had the pleasure of being able to watch you blossom into one of the budding DOPs in this current South African industry. And it's been really, really, really awesome for me to be able to be there along the journey for so many of your productions. So first and foremost, I want to, before we go into the major works that you have done, which I am going to list later on, I want to just ask, how did you get into film school? How did you start? What inspired you to initially go to film school, and how did you make the switch to become a DOP from there?
Yeah, bro, it's really not that complicated. Hey, I was into drama and theater, and I thought I was gonna go into like film school and act. And then at that time, I hadn't really like grown into myself. I wasn't like as confident as I would have liked to be able to be an actor. And I think probably most actors also create from that insecure place. I don't know, but I was like very insecure. Especially when I got to AFDA. You even used to make jokes about my English when I got to AFDA. It was very pro-black. You know, and I
That sounds like something I would say word for word.
I think it still is, because how do I put this? I still find it hard to say 3 and tree. Sometimes I'd be mid-sentence, and if I wanted to say the number 3, and then I'd just say tree, because that's just how I talk. That's just my blackness. So I was very insecure about like a lot of things, and then when I got to AFDA, I realized that there's more to, I guess, the industry that I now find myself in than just being on stage or being a performer. There's so much more. We could have a podcast just breaking down the roles that are in production. And then I ended up being behind the scenes on camera, because I guess I just fell in love with camera, because I think just where I grew up is quite scenic, you know. Like growing up in the village is dope, man.
It's cinematic.
You know, yeah, those are things like that people look for and try to find meaning in every day. Like, you know, go breathe some fresh air, escape, leave the city, get away from the noise. That's home for me. You know, so maybe I'm a little bit more privileged than you are.
Maybe.
You know,
and coming from living where you were, which was it was so when you grow up Emakaya or Emafamin, you have to work. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Growing up.
Yeah.
So what I found, that when I first met you at AFDA, you had this incredible work ethic. And I remember going into second term of television, and I was a crazy kid. I was like one of those crazy go-getters. And I was obsessed with being like the best producer in the whole world before I even knew what that meant.
Yeah.
And I went to you before we were even friends, and I was like, dude, you are such a hard worker. I really want you to be on my team. And you were like, okay. You were like, whatever. But then that work ethic, it made you do things that other kids at AFDA weren't doing.
Yeah.
Like you were shooting for people like Sky Star and Lindani and doing small things for MTV. Can you tell me about those little jobs on the come up?
I mean, I guess the work ethic, it's bro, like I grew up, I saw people work almost every day, like growing up, at least until I moved to KZN in 2006-07. But I saw people, and even then actually, because when it was school holidays, I used to go home like the day, the like school break, the day, if today is the end, by the afternoon I'm either jumping in the taxi, or the next morning I'm jumping in the taxi and going back to Eastern Cape, because that's just what I knew, you know, and I was more comfortable in doing that. So I saw people like work, bro, like that was just it. Like at a certain time of the year, everyone's garden like had like something in it. At a certain time of the year, you know, if you have like livestock, you see people like, there's a time where, because everyone has like, the fields have been like, what's the word?
Plowed.
You know, if the fields have been plowed, obviously you can't just take your livestock to the fields, because then they're going to chow all the stuff that's there. So you'd have to guard them and watch the cows. Fortunately, I didn't have to do that a lot, because my granddad was somewhat, you know, moneyed. My grand was also working, moneyed. So we had people that had to help us with that stuff, and we really had a good childhood. So I've seen work ethic my whole life, but there's still stuff where it was like, this is like for the kids in the yard. Like, if the person that herds the cows, or we didn't have sheep, we only had cows by the time I was old enough to start getting chores. If you didn't come, then it would be that 1 or 2 days I would have to do it. So I've seen people work, and like, work has just been a part of my life, you know. So my granddad at some point would wake up at like 4 to go plow the fields as well, 4 in the morning, so that by the time the sun comes up, we've done a considerable amount of work. And that's in the summer, so the sun is like, it's already ambient outside by 4 a.m. That's why we wake up at that time. So by the time the sun comes out and it's hot and it's harsh, then you've already got a majority of the work done, and you work for another hour or 2, and then you go home. And then the rest of the day, anything can happen between being a child and fixing the fence, maybe fixing the crow for like I don't know if it's a crow, even if it's for pigs, I don't know. But yeah, like with the pigsty. You know, so I've always grown up around work. So for me, it wasn't, by the time I got to AFDA, it was actually a lot easier than what I had known hard work to be. It's like just picking up like a few lights, moving things around. So that was a great work ethic. And then maybe, thinking about it now, the connection to then start getting work came from, I guess, a similar place from someone who noticed it in me, because Nana, who you know was in 30 at that time, as a DOP, was like, yo, come assist on my shoot, right? When I assisted in her shoot, and Nana is from Elsigisig is the next town after my town where I'm from, right? So both Nana and myself are Mbondo. So I guess she saw something familiar, or she just liked me, I wouldn't know. But like, I think my career starts when Nana calls me to come assist on her shoot, which then spilled over to all the other small jobs that I ended up getting with Sky Star. Because after I assisted in her shoot for her 30th film, I then think Lindani came back to Durban and did his first shoot, but he needed hands, because at the time he wasn't the Sky Star that we know today to have made so many videos for so many big artists. He was building that, and he needed hands. And then I was like, listen, this is not paying. And fortunately, when I got to set, Lindani was like a great dude, dog, and he's like, yeah, listen, I'm not paying you, but I promise if anything comes up and there's money in it, after today, I got you, you know. And he called, that's the first time I knew there was a thing called Uber, because he called me an Uber home. Because he was like, how am I getting home? So I'll call you an Uber. And I was like, a what? And he said, I'll get you home safe. So that was the genesis of my career.
Okay. And now with Lindani, you kind of, that was when you started getting your initial base of working within music videos.
Yeah.
Now, I know later on, as you entered your career, you started to actually direct music videos.
Yeah.
So can you chat to me about that kind of progression of the music videos that you are on and the sets that you were watching, and how they inspired you to eventually start to create your own treatments?
Bro, that came from my overambitious friends, man. That wasn't even being on set that much. Again, growing up where I grew up, majority of like, I'm gonna be a snob and say film we consumed, but movies we watched. That's the right term, because we watch movies, but not because I'm so consumed into this world. You know, when an artist starts saying we made a record, you know, this one has been rocking too much in the studio with purists. So which is why we also now say film. But the movies we watch, bro, it was like your Jackie Chan's, anything with Jackie Chan, because like, I guess it seems simple and it's straight to the point, you know. It's nothing, no disrespect, but it's nothing like, it's not Taxi Driver, you know, where it's like, oh, this, that. It's not Raging Bull, it's not Vertigo, no. It's not, you know, it's not 8.5, it's not It's not all these like serious like cinema movies where it's like
films.
if you know films for filmmakers and like you know people be like holy. It wasn't that. It was something that we could understand. We could get. Oh, that guy stole that from that person, so the cop who's Jackie Chan is now trying to get him. That's what it was, and it was fun to watch. Jean-Claude Van Damme, a lot of action as well. You know, a lot of Chinese karate cinema. Maybe Karate Kid made it in there. Three Ninja Kids made it in there, you know, because that was stuff that was easy to consume because we knew what was happening. So me transitioning from just trying to be behind the camera to then trying to make this stuff was inspired by a lot of what my friends were doing, you know, yourself included. And you know us as a pack, the stuff that I wasn't privileged to watch a lot of the films that I get to now watch and get to be inspired by. And then when you and all of my other friends get excited about the dope stuff that you guys understood about the movies, they got me excited. When it got me excited, I got interested. When I got interested, I thought maybe I could try things out. So then I started spreading my wings.
Because I remember like, you were like a really cool dude. Like you were like a really cool, super well-known dude. But you would come through to my house and chill and watch like classic cinema and classic TV series. You could have been doing like better things. But we're sitting here and we're watching like classic cinema. We're watching Oz, we're watching The Sopranos, we're watching Scarface. And I think like for me, that was one of my greatest, like that was one of the funnest times for me developing as a filmmaker as well.
Yeah.
Because you kind of start to understand not only why this movie is good, but why this movie is universal. And what are the things within this film that make it universal? And then when you watch your friends like you and Lindo, something that I could never do is I could never watch like a movie and then apply a principle from a scene into a work that I'm creating.
Yeah.
But I've seen you guys literally watch like a movie from like the 80s or the 90s and then take that concept from a scene and then you apply it into a music video and then boom, we're here. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. I think that just comes from what's the thing? Great artists, good artists borrow, great artists steal. Something like that. I don't know. But at the end of the day, bro, if you watch something and you resonate with it, I think you'll also find your own voice on how to say the same thing, you know, and how to express yourself using, I guess, either the same ideology, the same theory, the same kind of thinking, wherever you end up with what you're trying to do or trying to say. So I think that's just what it is, man. And at the end of the day, I just enjoy movies. Also, that was like a great time in my life because also, I mean, shout out to my family for this because my family never really put pressure on me to be anything, really. I think they just wanted me to be their son and they were happy with that. So that's why that 2018 was so great because we got to watch movies. We got to create what we could create. We got to, you know, we left home and got rotis from Sunshine, you know, and drove back home. I specifically remember one cold winter day when we drove to like Sunshine. We just came back. I think we were still watching Oz at that time. We just both passed out after those rotis, you know. But that was the time, bro, and like it was great. That's I think.
And 2018 was sorry, finish.
Yeah, I think you really need to spend your time. If you really want to make like great, for the sake of being inclusive, I'll say content. But if like you are behind the camera making that content, you really need to watch a lot of the stuff of what other people make. Not even to say that you want to make the same exact thing when you go to do your own thing, but just to inform your eye and to know what's out there and what works and what doesn't, and what you like and what you don't like as well. And then once you've gravitated towards what you like, then you also start finding your own voice and how, in terms of how to make that happen. Still working at that, but I've had some successes, I've had some failures, and that's how we learn.
Now, before we go on to your voice and your style and that, I want to go back to that year of 2018 because a lot of very big things happened in that year of 2018. I would think of that year almost as a big break year for myself and potentially you too. That year of 2018, you bought your first major DSLR camera. You got your Sony A7 III.
Yeah.
And I still remember back then, I thought, how the this guy say 40,000 Rand? I was like, I've been here doing the same graph. How the did this guy say 40,000 Rand? But then later on that year, you were able to, I don't know if it was DP or co-DP, a pilot episode for Comedy Central.
Yeah.
What was the name of the show again?
As a People.
As a People.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a pilot episode that went viral because when it released, everyone was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. We need this. We want this. And then the production house actually decided they didn't want to do it anymore. But that was your first introduction into the Johannesburg industry. Am I correct?
Yes. I think that was I think that was the first thing we shot in Johannesburg. And that is crazy because it was like with a proper established production company with big names.
It was Diprente.
That was shot with Diprente. And I believe that the owner of Diprente, or one of the owners of Diprente, is Kagiso Ledigas. Like, you drop that name in South Africa, South Africans know what you're talking about, you know. Pure Munati, come on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was a kid to have fully enjoyed some of the stuff that they made back then, like Pure Munati. But if I say to any of my parents, aunts, uncles that had SAPC at that time, and I say Pure Munati, they know what's going on.
Exactly.
You know. So it was big for us to be able to get that. And that was all thanks to Lindo, again, friends. And like, I think a big thing about maybe any type of work is like relationships, bro. And how do I say this? Like, you can do whatever the hell you want to do, but like, at the end of the day, people make things happen. If there's no people to enjoy what we do, then there's really no point in doing what we do. And if you don't have people to sort of help you form whatever you need to form, whether it's, again, ideology, whether it's how you think, how you move, if you don't have people to assist you in that, you really can't get far. So again, getting that Diprente shoot was completely a Lindo thing, bro. And if you remember correctly, I wasn't even supposed to be shooting.
Yeah, it was
one of our friends was supposed to be shooting, but they were on another shoot with a friend, you know, which just shows like his loyalty as well, because that would have been his big break.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And gratefully he's doing well now, again, because he's super talented.
Yeah.
And I hope you don't mind me mentioning you, bro, Baz Berry.
Basicus Maximus.
You know, great friend of ours. I know we don't speak much these days, but, you know, we still got love. You know, and whenever we do talk, it's all love. So, yeah, he was supposed to come up, but he was working on another honors student film at the time, was one of our friends. And then Lindo was like, yo, bro, do you mind coming up with me? And we were at your crib when Lindo was like, Baz is shooting. Do you mind coming up with me to do this thing? And we came up to Johannesburg, and man, shout out to Lindo for how dope he is and how good he is at what he does. Because I just trusted that he was going to tell me what he needs from me. And I believe in him so much that whatever he told me that he needed was going to be the thing, you know? So because I think maybe that's what makes all good directors, you know? And with him more specifically, it's even nicer because he kind of spoils you, because he's got a grasp of, especially when it comes to picture. I wouldn't say much about sound and all the other stuff. He may have the ideas of how he wants his sound, but when it comes to picture, he can break down some stuff that I don't even know. Sometimes be like, yeah, no, when they did this shot in this movie, I'm like, where do you find this information? This is what I aspire to be, but you seem to be doing it better. So that helped me because it got me comfortable in terms of like, I started learning to speak how he spoke because he was confident because he knew what he was talking about. So those movies we watched in 2018 wasn't just to watch movies, it was education. So that I can say that like, if I bring this up, at least you know that as a person that's trying to give me the job, I have some idea of what at least I want to try and do, even if I don't have the practical knowledge. Then from there, if there is someone more experienced or you know someone who's tried it, I can be honest and say, I haven't done it before. So if you trust me to try this with me, we can try it. In fact, Lindo and I tried something on that shoot that I don't think worked, but I don't think he told me that it didn't work. He just took it as a director and I was like, it was my decision and didn't tell me. We tried something and that skit didn't make it on screen. And I strongly believe it's because we tried that. And they were like, yeah, this won't work.
But like, you're like 21 years old at this point. You're on a professional set that's run by Kagiso Ledigas company. Aren't you terrified?
again, like I said, there was a bit of pressure, but like I said, Lindo was so confident in what he was doing that it made me that much more comfortable. And yeah, I think also shout out to Tamsin and shout out to Kagiso Ledigas and everyone else that was in that production team, because at that time, really, Lindo, all he had was his graduation film.
Yeah.
You know, and they trusted us and they trusted the word of whoever managed to speak into their ear beyond seeing Lindo's work. And then because they trusted us so much, they also protected us, you know. I believe that there was I don't think Comedy Central would have come on. Johannesburg, all of Johannesburg, they're gonna go get 2 kids from KZN who, come on, bro.
Yeah, if
they protected, bro. We were protected.
Wow.
Someone was like, yo, these kids are gonna do this and this is what it is. I don't know. I'm just thinking logically. Logically, would you take a first year after student and tell them to host your podcast on the go today, right now? If I told you, yo, this guy's starting a podcast and they walked in here.
Yeah, ne?
Do you know what I'm saying? That took guts, and yeah, like we're protected. So I was scared, but it felt right because we were so protected and the people were so welcoming that like got us in.
Okay, so now you do We the People. It has an incredible response on social media. It's the #1 trending thing on Twitter. But then because of background producing stuff, the show doesn't end up becoming a season show. It's not because it wasn't good. It's because there's a lot that happens in film production that isn't just if the production is good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of technicalities. There's a lot of business that needs to be done. But now, immediately afterwards, you end up giving me my big break because you go to Batandwa who you had shot like, I believe you were shooting like Vox Poppies.
Yeah, bro. We did like a lot of different things with Batandwa with his company VCG, Visual Content Gang. And Batandwa, that's also another crazy story. I don't know if it was him or if it was someone else that called, but I think it was him. He just randomly, well, I don't know if it was random actually. He called after though. It was random for me because I was downstairs editing with KK and Kwezi was also on campus, and they called reception looking for an assist on a shoot that they were doing in Mhlang. Zunaid was doing that shoot. Who I think was or is Batandwa's partner. I don't know.
Zunaid runs the Cape Town division.
Yeah. So Mamtola, the receptionist at AFDA at that time, I woke up the stairs and then either I walked up the stairs or Kwezi, I'm not sure how it exactly happened, but I remember her asking, yo, there's someone who needs an assist for this, that. And then I was like, put me in, right? I went to the shoot, probably one of the first shoots where I got paid the money that I got paid, and understanding that like you cannot be the camera operator and still get paid well. You know, and it was, that's how I met Batandwa. I worked with Batandwa maybe for over a year before meeting him, because Zunaid kept coming up to KZN to do other stuff.
Do you mean that I could have never been a television producer if you didn't walk up the stairs?
Yes. If I decided to just sit with like KK and carry on editing and maybe didn't, because I think she might have asked Kwezi and Kwezi was busy, but as I was walking up the stairs, Kwezi was like, yo, Mamtola, I think that's the story. I can't be too sure right now. But it took me either going to the bathroom or a water break or something for me to meet Batandwa on the phone through Mamtola. And then I went to the shoot with Zunaid. And then a year later, after I would, like I said, been working with Batandwa remotely, meeting his business partner Zunaid, he then, I think, got combination and then was shooting in KZN. And then he invited me to the workshop. It was him and Neo at the time, and I'm not sure who else. And he invited me to the workshop. They were having some curry, had some good Durban curry, and had some good chats, you know, be super chilled, just about energy, you know. We met, spoke, you know, we vibed, it was dope. And then fortunately, even beyond that, the production company that they were working with in Durban was Sky Star Films, who I have a history with. And that just made my life so much easier from that point on. And then I went on to Nation as one of the camera operators. And then season 2 happened, and then you happened.
Yeah, I was born. Season 2 happened, and I remember like you Batandwa needed a first assistant director, and you just put me on. Like, you didn't even, I was not qualified. I was not like right for the job. You were like, I know a guy, send to my number. Batandwa calls me, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'll be able to do whatever it is that you need me to do. Just give me a breakdown of what you need me to do. And he could tell from the phone call, this motherfucker doesn't know what he's doing. This nigga doesn't know what he's doing. So he's like, yeah, I'll let you be second AD. And thank God that worked out. But long story short, we have a grueling shoot on Nation season 2. But it leads to us both moving to Johannesburg.
Yeah.
And the first day that we're in Johannesburg, we meet Anatii.
Yeah.
The first day that we're in Johannesburg, we meet Anatii at Maboneng. And we were there meeting Raspi, the girl who sings the hook in Sondela, the Ricky Rick Sondela. I'm sorry. But we were there doing a music video with her.
My baby.
Exactly.
My baby. Yeah, she sings it way better than I do.
Way better than both of us. We were there meeting her for a music video that ended up not happening. But somehow we get roped into going to Anati's set for another music video he's shooting for his sister.
He was directing for his sister, yeah.
He was directing for his sister. And then we get to that set, and you realize that, like, the people who were running that shoot did not know what they were doing at all.
I don't put it like that. I'm an industry cat. I want to get cancelled. He doesn't care. He's got a wall-running podcast. I need to get paid. Keep the lights on. I'm kidding, but
I work for a corporate.
Essentially, what happened is that after arriving in Johannesburg and after having your mom's great jacket at your place, because that's what happened. Basically, cuffed in. After enjoying Uchekama wako, I think, how did Lindo get up to Johannesburg?
Ooh. No, we all drove together.
But I remember the decision was that we're all coming to Johannesburg that year.
Yeah.
The decision was made at some point that, like, let's just take the leap. Fortunately, again, KK's dad was like, yo, you can come stay with us. Upon KK speaking to him, shout out to KK, shout out to his dad. So we come up to Johannesburg. My family is comfortable knowing that I have a place to stay. And at that time, I mean, finances weren't the greatest, so it was going to be hard for me to move up here and then find a place and all of that stuff. So I was very fortunate to have that set up with KK's family. We go to Maboneng that same night, and at that time, I think I stayed with you for like the first week we were here. For some time though, we stayed there. And then eventually one day, KK after work came through, picked me up, went to his crib, and that was that. Live happily ever after. Walked into the sunset. So we go to Maboneng. We realized that the video is not going to happen. And then Lindo, because it was so stressful for us, he protected us as his friends and called Kagiso Ledigas to be like, yo, this is what's happening. This is what I'm trying to do with my homies. And he was like, if it's that stressful or something along those lines, it's like, and if your heart is not in it anymore, like, don't do it. It's not going to be worth it. And like, man, hey, shout out, my homie is actually quite a solid homie. Because he was like, yo, gents, let's not do this. I'll speak to Raspi. And then it ended up not happening. Because also, I guess at that time, all of us were also like kind of inexperienced to run the show by ourselves. In the scale that we wanted to run it at, ourselves as the crew and Raspi included as well at that time. I don't think our finances were that great.
We were incredibly precocious.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Whatever the story was, we just were not ready, and that happened. And then in the midst of that happening, we still all decide to have dinner at... Nah, I'm not going to name drop them. They're not giving you any money. Yeah, but yeah, in Maboneng. Yeah. Having dinner in Maboneng. Tourism give us money for shouting out Maboneng so many times. we have dinner, and as Joburg is, you know, you don't know who you meet where at what time when, but you could literally meet anyone, because in that same year, a week later, we met Diplo, but we see Anatii, and then we have this back and forth. Should we go to him? He's having dinner with his family. We don't want to be there with those guys, you know. And then we eventually end up, I don't know who forced us to go to him. I think it was Austin and someone else.
Yeah.
And like, gents, just go do it. And then myself, Lindo, who else pulled up?
I think Dane was there. Pumalelo was there.
Yeah, but we all pulled up, and then we just spoke, yo, this is what we do, and this is what we're trying to do. And he was like, I'm having a shoot right up the road tomorrow, so you guys come to the set and let's chop it up. And we chopped it up, and we went to his next set for his music video as the main crew, not secondary crew.
Oh, yeah. I remember that I was line producer. That wasn't the most splendid job for me. I will not mention that in this podcast. Maybe in a few years when I'm more successful. Yeah. But that was essentially your entrance into the industry in Johannesburg.
Essentially, yes.
Can you chat to me about some of your most prominent directing jobs that you have done? The concepts that you've created and shot and completed?
Bro, so here's, first things first, I'm not a director. I think I just love what directors do. So I try template whatever I have an opportunity to sit behind the director's monitor or to be on camera and help with the directing for. I take that as if let's say, to make an analogy, if I really like playing indoor soccer and that was my thing, and I was a big soccer fan, and then one day they're like, yo, we'll put you on a World 11 with Messi and Ronaldo in the same team, and, you know, Van Dijk in defense, you know, like all these big names, we'll put you in that team, can just go play. That's what directing is for me. It's like, yo, I think directors are so dope that you can come up with these ideas, put a treatment together, get a team together, you know, obviously being helped by production, and create pictures, you know. So that's me. Directing is basically me just doing that, you know. And
so essentially you're a fan, but you respect the art too much to call yourself a director.
I'm not a director, bro. Yeah, I'm just a fan of what directors do. And sometimes I try jump into the deep end and see if I can swim. And
that's a beautiful way to say it. But to a layman, you're a director. You've directed AKAs Jika video, you've directed Paradise, you've directed Finessing. To a layman.
Yeah, but also that's again another relationship. So you see, when I said Nana Nelani was like the genesis of my story, it's Nana, it's Sky Star, it's then obviously our friendship group at AFDA, which then we decided to move to Joburg and started doing what we're doing. It's the Anatii shoot. Actually, the AKA shoot happened before I came to Johannesburg.
Yeah.
Track back.
Yeah, actually, that was 2018 too.
Track back. That happened before we moved to Johannesburg. And like, that was Sky Star Films, you know. And Lindani was just like, hey man, just make a, it was beginning of 2019. Because 28, after that video, that's when it's like, let's go. Like, let's just move. Yeah, so, excuse me, Lindani is like, make a treatment chief. This is what needs to happen. But what happened with that is that we met Lindani, I think either went to the same school or went to school with Nivo, who is part of, who owns T Effect at Siamo, and that's AK's management company, and a whole lot of other artists, and they're doing like an incredible job, according to me. Anyone else, if you want to argue, go argue with your grandma, as they would say. But I think they're doing a great job. So Lindani then has been, I guess at that point, had been trying to shoot something with AKA. And then eventually we met at shooting with, yes, I was shooting for Batandwa. Yeah, I was shooting for Batandwa at an event hosted by a bank. We're gonna say the name, at an event hosted by a bank, and he was one of the main acts there, closing performance. And then Lindana was like, oh, Nivo is here, and then they linked up, and then Nivo was like, okay, cool, I'll get you that meet today. And then before they left, I think they were parked, where we were doing the interview. They were parked really close to where we were doing the interview. And Nomalanga was hosting. We had just shot, I don't know, an interview with someone else. Kanti, AKA is going to go for the next interview before he left. And then when we cut, then Nivo did the whole introduction vibe. And then we spoke, predominantly spoke with Lindani. And then it was like, okay, cool, send the treatment and let's see what happens. And then after that, Lindani was like, hey, cool, this is the song. Let's make a treatment. And initially he was like, yeah, no, I'm going to go on holiday in January. Send your treatment. We'll see what happens when I come back from holiday. So I drafted something up. It's like, I don't know if this is going to work, but it wasn't even a treatment. I just put an idea out. I wrote a lot of words, said a lot of things. And then Lindani, because he had done treatments at that point, he made the treatment and then sent it. And then it was like, okay, cool. I think...
And you had some ridiculous stuff in that first treatment. You had like watermelon spray painted gold that were going to be smashed. And
hey, bro. Yeah, being young and wild and free. Not knowing how budgets affect production. Yeah, man. So I think the event was the 16th or 18th of December. It was one of the big December holidays. And I think initially we were supposed to submit in January, but I think we ended up submitting still somewhere in December. And I think I'd like to believe the idea was good because that idea ended up getting approved sooner than we thought. And we ended up shooting before he went on holiday. And then he was approving cuts, sipping pina coladas or whatever he was sipping, super mega. I don't know. I don't drink a lot of alcohol, so I don't know what the top ballers drink. But he was sipping some good stuff in whatever place that he had gone to take his holiday, and he was approving cuts whilst he was there with the help of obviously Nivo, because I think that was his first production that he headed, where it was just like, okay, he was the executive for that shoot. So yeah, we were basically all working under him as the production company. So himself and Nivo were approving the cut, and that was I think that was my confidence booster that put the battery in my pack that, okay, maybe there is some ideas that are worth exploring.
I think also a really defining moment about that shoot for me that I saw was the way in which you made a plan when things had to change.
Yeah.
So we were on that set, and initially there was supposed to be a big carnival scene, and we thought that people were going to come because AK had sent out an invitation. But it rained that day.
Yeah.
Nobody goes anywhere in Durban when it rains.
Yeah.
So suddenly we're there on set and we don't have half the extras that we need to get the scene done.
Yeah.
And everybody's panicking. And it's a seriously tense moment. Well, I don't know if everybody's panicking. I was panicking. I'm a pretty parry dude. Pretty parry dude, so I was panicking.
Yeah.
I remember watching you. We wait for the rain to stop. Everybody gets silent. And then you just leave for a second. You just think. You pull out your cell phone. You start looking at music videos. Oh, wait. This is what we're going to do. And then you go straight over to AKA and his team. And you're showing them the Travis Scott antidote video. I'm allowed to tell these niggas this. I'll cut it out if you want me to. I'll cut it out if you want me to. You're showing them the antidote music video. And then I still remember AKA just saying to you, all right, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to antidote it. And then he screams it out like he came up with the idea. And it was just like, boom, we just saved this music video. And that section that you did ended up being some of the most beautiful sections of the music video. The way that you turned that scene into this beautiful carnival scene, and the notion of him bringing her into this carnival scene. Bro, that is directing, man. Like dealing with issues on the spot. Like,
bro, it's the training, dog. Like we watched so many movies, like, and we had essentially trained ourselves on like how to make things work. We had watched so many movies. We had done so many photo shoots.
Oh yeah.
We had tried to make so many things work over and over and over and over. Like, I guess that was just what I guess is the fight or flight response, and we fought, and it was a knee-jerk reaction, bro, because what was supposed to happen? they had ideas. He had put out ideas on how to make the video work because we had really got into like a very difficult place. And because we had the idea, he put it out to us, but it was up to us if we wanted to move on. When I say us, myself, Linda and Nivo. So at that point in time, when we were waiting out the rain, I was just like, I don't think I can give up the scene for what he had asked for at the time, the out he had given to us.
Yeah.
And I don't think Nivo or Linda were willing to give up the scene. But then again, because it rained, some other people started leaving and we had run a bit behind schedule. So a lot of people that came earlier had left and we were basically left with our extras and a few of like, I guess I'd call it friends of Sky Star, because there were people either Lidani had shot for or shot with. So they were cool to stay and wait, whatever the wait was. And which, I mean, shout out to AKA too, because he stayed the duration of the shoot, you know, like even when it rained out.
Sorry,
yeah, you can tell that story better. I know exactly where you're going.
He did the coolest fucking thing. We're all there on set, okay? We're all tired. We're all like exhausted from a long day of shooting. So AKA gives the crew a private concert. And he alternated between his own songs and then doing covers of like popular tracks. It was one of the coolest on-set experiences of my whole life. And it just kept everybody's spirits so high. All of the dancers, all of the performers, everybody was there for this free AKA concert. And then in between that, we'd be hitting takes. And it was so cool.
Yeah, bro. They got the track there, again, not mentioning names. But you know, the black truck with the big speakers with the bull on the side.
There you go.
It was out there. Star, one of our homies, got into the booth, you know, playing gems. It was actually funny because I think he felt compelled that like, maybe not compelled, but it was like, I mean, AK is here, we're shooting his video, I'm gonna play his song first. So he played Fela and Versace, and they was like, no, we shot that video already. Skip that song. And then he played the next song, and then I think, yo, bro, I don't know. The next song was probably like Lil Uzi Vert or something. And then he started rapping along to Lil Uzi. And then Star played like another jam. And then like, so he was just like rapping along to anything that came on. And then sometimes putting in his own bars. But it was a cool experience because everyone's energies like got back up. And like we all believed in the project again from that point onwards.
Exactly. And that music video ended up winning Music Video of the Year.
Yeah, which again, yo, fact check me, because I think I care more about the work than everything else. So sometimes these things slip out my mind because we're trying to make the next best thing for the next one. But I think that was his first music video award at the Summers. I can't comment for any other awards because again, this AKA I don't think, yeah. Even if it was his first music video award across the board, I can't confirm. You know, for me, this is like one of my idols at the time. And even now, actually, still is. That's another weird story. Hectic segue. That the first time I ever spent like probably like 12 hours on the phone speaking to a female who is now my partner, that I have a child with. Part of that time we spent rapping along to like AKA's music. Like so much of it, like yo, bro, embarrassing.
Like the deep cuts,
like how much of his music we both knew. Like it was embarrassing if I have to think back to it, but that was like a dope moment. So that's, like I said, is my idol, you know, amongst many others or few others, but he is definitely in the list of my idols. So for me, is that video winning the award and that being his first music video award at the Summers. And I think that was also the first time that category, that specific one that he won, I think that was the first time it was introduced at the Summers that year. So everything about it was big. And when it happened, it's either we're load shedding or we're just finished load shedding, but I was in the kitchen trying to make dinner. And then it was COVID. So no one attended the awards, they were all online. And then when it happened, I think someone from my family called me, and then I had even forgotten at that time that the awards are happening. Then I was like, yeah, we got the award. And then I guess that put, if the making the video put a battery in my pack, winning the award put rocket boosters on my back in terms of what I felt was possible.
100%. Now, bro, we're running out of time here, but I want to ask you a two-pronged question just to kind of end this. All right.
Yeah.
First and foremost, what motivates you to be the DOP and the person that you are? And secondly, what type of productions do you want to see yourself doing?
Yeah, bro. I think what motivates me is seeing my friends do what they love, and my friends in film, that is, do what they love, and them doing it like so well. That motivates me. I've been recently thinking about, I think I was talking to you about this, where I was like, cliches are cliches because it's things that happen. They're not just, which probably this is a cliche. You know, to say like, yo, bro, cliches are cliches because it's things that happened, and they happen continuously to the point where it's like, yo, this must be the reality of it. So I wanted to mention a cliche. When your parents say, show me your friends, I'll show you your future, like, where I am right now is purely because of the friends that I either picked or that I ended up crossing paths with, and we became good friends. If I didn't meet the people I met at AFDA, I don't think I'd be doing as well as I'm doing, or be as comfortable as I am. So if you go on my Instagram, on my bio, some of my former friends are still there. If you look at all of their profiles, you'll see my future.
That's mad humble, bro. That is mad humble, bro.
So that's what motivates me, my friends. And then obviously anyone that does well, you know, it's good to see the industry grow. It's good to see that people are like putting themselves out there, trying out new things. You know, that's great to see. That's also inspiring. So, you know, sometimes it won't be as great, but you know, I can't, man, you see, being raised, bro. I want to say I can't shit, but I feel like my mom is gonna watch this and be like, you don't speak like that. Mom, I don't speak like that around you. I can't shit on you if you've tried something, it didn't work out, and I'm just sitting here looking at it, you know. At least you tried. I haven't done it. So that motivates me to see people trying and doing new things. And, you know, and just also seeing people grow. There's people we've met that didn't do this, and now they are doing this full-time, getting paid. Case in point. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you're talking about Spa?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Shout out, dog. Shout out, bro.
Yeah, like when we met Spa, what were you studying at UKZN? BSc Electronic.
Shout out,
now
man.
He's making money, real money.
Yeah, but I've always said
making
Spa's an
pictures.
Inspiration, bro.
Exactly. Look up Spa and you'll see my future. You know? So, yeah, that's what motivates me, bro. And what is the second part of your question?
What kind of productions do you want to make?
Yo, that is a tough one. Because I think I know what I want to make, but I think I'm still... Here's the thing. So a precursor to what I'm going to say is that, like, we've been very fortunate to be in, like, rooms that, like, a lot of people our age wouldn't have had the chance to get into, especially the way we got into them. By that I mean, like, meeting great producers, meeting like really well-established people, and them taking us in, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's people at Seriti that some I consider family, and some like will recognize me and will always greet me wherever I meet them. And that's a production company that's done a lot, you know. I'm right now currently working with another different production company that's also got people that, like, I respect a lot, you know, that I'm finding out more about the further along we go into the shoot. There is, you know, so to be in those kind of rooms, you know, again, to be associated with people like people or teams like T-Effect, who they are managing some of the biggest artists in South Africa, and to be able to work with them, you know, to get constant callbacks to be like, yo, let's do something else, you know. That already is like, it's helping me build and shape and form my voice. So I guess I'd say I know kind of like where I want to end up. Like, I think to not be sellout about it, if we could get more of South African productions, like Hollywood level, that's the kind of stuff I'd want to do. or even like booming now, the Korean cinema or like Asian cinema, I think that's the space I'd be happy to play in, but still in South Africa. If there's anything, again, because I said he's my idol, if there's anything we can shout out AKA for, he always had the flag everywhere he went.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things I think he had even vocalized is that like he didn't care about going Hollywood. His purpose, or maybe not his purpose, his vision was to get Africa. He was very passionate about Africa.
Yeah.
So I guess that now that he's gone, if I really say he was my idol, that's one of the things that I feel like I'd be happy to do. So to kind of like accomplish the stuff that's being accomplished abroad here, that's the type of film I'd like to make. And also to get to a point where we have the same eyes that watches all the stuff that is out of Hollywood, but coming out from here. And I believe we can do that. But I still also believe that I'm still quite young. I'm still learning. So there is a great deal to learn, but there's also a great deal. I'm recently finding out that there's a great deal of people that are also willing to help us shape that voice. And I'm fortunate to be in those situations. So I'll just keep learning, bro. And wherever I land up is where I land up, and we'll pass the baton to the next guys to push it further.
That's so humble, bro. That's so humble. Man, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I feel like this podcast is going to be really eye-opening for a lot of people and super motivational. I have to say, and I've always said, bro, you're one of the homies, you don't even know this, but you've probably saved my life more than once.
Hey, man.
You don't even know this, but you've probably saved my life more than once. And I know that there have been places and times where I've been a wreck, where I've been messed up, where I've been selfish. And you homies have pulled me out of the gutter. Even this podcast right here, nobody knows that I only started this podcast because you helped me get up, like, off my ass.
Yeah.
When my shit was fucked up and I was super depressed. Sorry, Sito's mom. When I was super depressed and I was broken, you put thousands of rands of your own money into renting the lights for the first ever podcast episode that I did. And you lit the fire under my ass, and it's been a year and we're still doing this. So even if you look at the logo and if you zoom in really deep, you can see your name. You can see Sipe and Sitho Bandezi on the logo.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that you did that, because you really didn't have to. So I'm just like, it's we always used to make jokes about like, this is a story for the Ellen couch. Ellen is not there anymore. It's a story for some couch. Maybe this podcast in 20 years, it's gonna be a story for this couch. So it's bro, if you watch, like, I also consume a lot of, like, just maybe a small nugget. I consume a lot of content of like filmmakers outside like the film space, because I believe that helps you get into the thinking,
the mind frame,
the mind frame, how, like, you don't necessarily have to like wake up, chuck 3 eggs, go on a run, but you understand what it takes. You'll be like, oh, that's what it took for this person to get in shape for this movie. That's what it took for this director to get the script approved. That's what it took for the production house to make, all of those things outside the framework of making the film, to just get into the mind of what the people were thinking and what they went through and how they pulled it over the finish line. So again, besides watching movies, watch that stuff. It's just motivating. And sometimes the stories you could relate just from being like, what? At some point, Jamie Foxx was like this. I'm like this. What? At some point, Quentin couldn't do this and now he does this. I'm that guy. At some point, Spike Lee, do you know what I'm saying? At some point, you can go anywhere across the world. Like Yizo happened in South Africa, dog, and I think that's like a world-class production. Like, there you go. But it's because it's hard to find how those things happen, and I think platforms like this should happen more so that we can get to those stories, so that I can even start referencing more of the homies here. Like, I can be like, Angus did this, can be like, Mpotola did this, or Tabang Molea did this. And I'm mentioning these people because these are the people I'm around, and these are the production companies I've been able to get into. And these are the people that have helped me, and other blueprints from other people. Once you're able to make that connection and hear how they think and how they made it, then you can start, I guess, sifting through your brain and being like, oh, I can do this because I'm like this and I'm like this and I'm like this. And before you know it, you're at the top, but we also have time.
There you go. Because really, it's not common sense.
It's not common sense. That was a dope one. Maybe next we should do one that's maybe a little bit more technical.
Yeah.
Part 3, because this is a part 2.
I'm about that life. It's gonna happen.
In case you don't know, it's a part 2. This is a part 2 of this podcast.
What do you mean this is a part 2?
This is a part 2. We did a part 1 during COVID.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yes, we did the live.
Yeah.
This is the part 2. Part 3 is gonna slap.
Yeah, part 3 is gonna slap. Gonna be in the mansion.
Let's go.
You can call it, bro. We'll never stop.
Well, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of the podcast. I think this one's gonna be super eye-opening for a lot of people.
Oh,
like and subscribe and check out the next episode.
Boom.